Picture this. You're a captain of a massive digital ship in a company's entire SAP landscape. Everything is running smoothly. Sales are flowing, reports are generating, and then, bam, a massive region-wide outage hits. Your primary data center goes dark, and it's not a question of if disaster will strike, but when. Are you prepared to go down with this ship, or do you have a lifeboat ready to launch? In our last video, we navigated the complex waters of VLDB migration. Today we are tackling an even bigger challenge: disaster recovery. We are moving beyond just keeping the lights on in a place. We are talking about surviving a catastrophe by failing over your entire SAP landscape to a secondary Azure region. This is for a situation where being down for half a day is sustainable, but for 48 hours is absolutely not. Welcome to AZ-120 SAP Workloads on Azure series, and in this video we are talking about disaster recovery for SAP on Azure. If you're new here, my name is Rajdeep. I am a Microsoft certified trainer and a solution architect, helping clients build amazing solutions every day. And we are on a mission to make learning fun as well as crack certifications in that process. So what exactly is DR in the Azure world? Well, at its core, it's about failing over your entire SAP and Azure landscape to a secondary Azure region when your primary one becomes unavailable due to some reason. Think of it like having a fully equipped duplicate office in another city, ready to go at a moment's notice. Let's break down the SAP application stack and see how we can build this lifeboat piece by piece. First up is application servers. Now, application servers are your workhorses for your SAP system. But here's the good news. They don't actually hold up the precious business data. They are like factory workers. The real value is the product they are working on, not workers themselves. So our DR strategy is brilliantly simple. For a simple approach, you just pre-create your SAP application server in a secondary region and keep them shut down to save cost. When disaster strikes, you just turn them on. But for an automated approach, Azure Site Recovery is a recommended solution. Now, this Azure Site Recovery automatically replicates your application servers to the DR region, and that makes it ready for a seamless switch. Let's go into the Azure portal and see how this is set up. Now, for this particular demo, I have created two resource groups. One is demo DR RG01, which basically contains the recovery services vault. And I have created another VM in another resource group, which is demo DR RG02. Here you can see the demo DR RG02 VM, which is up and running. Now, if you go inside the recovery services vault, you have options to protect items here. As you can see, there are two options: backup and replicate. Now, backup is your simple backup, which you take when you create a VM. You can back it up in the recovery services vault. However, replicated item is a different game. It is only used for DR purposes. If you click on replicated item, you can replicate items which have been created in a different region. If you click on plus, you can select Azure Virtual Machines, VMware, Hyper-V VMs to recovery site SCVMM. There are four options. If you click on Azure VM, you have an option to select the resource group which is in a different region from the one which the recovery services vault exists in. So in our case, the recovery services vault exists in UK South, while the item which we want to replicate is in UK West. That's for the DR purposes only, as you can see here. So I have started the replication, and if you look at the status, it says replication is healthy. The status is 0% synchronized. What does that mean? That means that the recovery services vault is copying the VM into the secondary region. If you click on the VM, you can see the health and status, and the replication health and the status, which is 0% synchronized. Once the whole VM has been replicated into UK South, this will become 100% synchronized. You can just go down and see the infrastructure view of the Azure VM. You can see a map of the infrastructure view. Now, if you go on the top, you can see there are certain options such as failover, test failover, and so on. So failover and test failover are the critical options. Now, once you have replicated the virtual machine, if you want to test if everything is working fine, you can click on test failover, and the recovery services vault is going to create a test vnet and just perform a failover just to see if everything is working fine. You can perform a test failover if you want to run a DR drill, and then you have the actual failover button. So this shows how recovery services vault can protect your virtual machines into a secondary region. Next, the central services. Now this is the brain of the operation. Like the application server, this doesn't persist business data, but it has one crucial piece, the SAP MNT share. This SAP MNT share is like a shared blueprint folder that all of your application server need access to. If it's not in sync, nobody knows what to do. To keep this in sync, you can use simple scheduled copy job, or for more robust solution, you can use Azure Site Recovery to replicate the cluster nodes. And don't forget the Cloud Witness. It's an independent judge in your cluster setup. Since a Cloud Witness cannot be replicated, you'll need to create a new one in your DR region to ensure that your cluster can achieve quorum after failover. Moving on to chapter 3, the database, the crown jewel. Alright, now for the most critical part, the database. This is the vault where all your company's treasure is stored. Here, we can't afford any shortcuts. For databases, we can rely on their own native powerful replication mechanisms. For example, for SAP HANA, we can use HANA system replication. For SQL Server, it's always on availability group AOAG, and for Oracle, the native solution is Oracle Data Guard. These tools support asynchronous replication to a node in a separate Azure region. Now let's talk about your tolerance for data loss or recovery time object. If your business cannot lose a single transaction, RPO, recovery point object, should be 0. You will need a more advanced setup driven by regulation or the need to keep the global operations running. SAP HANA offers multi-tier and multi-target system replication. This is the gold standard. You can have a synchronous replica nearby for high availability and then an asynchronous replica in your DR region. This setup provides an RPO of 0 and ensures your DR site is not impacted by maintenance in the primary region. Which brings us to the next chapter, failover with ASR. Having all these replicated items is great, but how do you bring all of them online in the right order during crisis? This is where orchestration comes in. Azure Site Recovery shines again. Now Azure Site Recovery can orchestrate the failover of your entire SAP landscape. You can create a recovery plan, which is a pre-programmed script for failover. It defines the order in which machines are started and can even run custom scripts to handle things like changing the DNS or adding load balancers after the VM comes online. Let's quickly head over to the Azure portal and have a look at our recovery plan. Let's have a look at the recovery plan in Azure. We had created a recovery services vault earlier. Let's click into that and click on the replicated items. If you click on refresh, we can see that our VM demo DR RG02 has been protected. Let's click on the recovery plans. Now I had created a recovery plan earlier called SAP Prod DR plan. You can add recovery plan from the plus sign here. Let's get inside the recovery plan and you have an option to perform test failover or failover here. You can customize this plan by clicking on customize, and here in the recovery plan you can add a pre-action or a post-action. If you click on add a pre-action, it will allow you to insert specific custom scripts which you can add in your Azure automation account. You can create recovery plans specifically for domain controllers, database servers, central services, or application plans. With one click of a button, you can just initiate the failover, and pre-actions, recovery, and post-actions will be executed. So it's very convenient to perform a recovery using the recovery plan. So you see, the recovery plan is our one push DR solution. We defined a startup group to ensure everything comes online in the correct order. We can sequence it like first the Active Directory, then the database servers, and then the central services, and finally the application servers. We can add custom scripts to automate tasks. It's powerful, repeatable, and absolutely essential for a smooth recovery. So let's bring it all back. Disaster recovery is not just a technical feature. It's a business insurance. It's a peace of mind that comes from knowing that when disaster strikes, you're not just prepared to survive, you're prepared to thrive. You have a plan to fail over to a secondary region. Whether it's a simple setup for a system that can tolerate a day of downtime or sophisticated multi-tier HANA replication for an RPO of near zero. So by leveraging powerful tools like Azure Site Recovery for orchestration and native database replication for your data, you can build a resilient SAP landscape that can withstand almost anything Azure throws at you. You built your Lifeboat, you have tested it, and you're ready to sail through any storm. Well, that's all for today, CertHeads. If you find this guide to building your digital Lifeboat helpful, smash that like button, subscribe for more deep dives, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next video. Drop a comment below and tell us about your biggest DR challenge. Till the next time, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.